The afternoon sun was hot on Taman's back as he checked the cargo containers at the spaceport. It was another ordinary day. He had been doing this job for 12 years now, ever since the war ended. The work was simple and quiet, which was exactly what he wanted. He heard the announcement over the speakers. A diplomatic ship was arriving. Taman barely looked up. Diplomatic ships came and went all the time at New Sol spaceport. It was not his concern, but then his supervisor called his name. "Taman, someone is here to see you. Says it's personal." Taman felt confused. Nobody visited him at work. He had no family left, and his few friends knew better than to disturb him during his shift. He wiped the sweat from his forehead and walked toward the arrival terminal. The diplomatic ship was sleek and silver with markings he recognized immediately. Kavesh design. His heart started beating faster. He had not seen a Kavesh ship in many years. Not since the war. Not since she left. The landing ramp lowered with a soft hiss. Two figures emerged from the bright interior. Taman's breath caught in his throat. The first figure was tall and elegant with pale blue skin that seemed to glow in the sunlight. Her hair was long and white, flowing down her back. She wore traditional Kavesh robes in deep purple. Her large eyes, the color of amethyst, locked onto his face. Velara. Taman felt his legs go weak. It couldn't be. She was dead. They told him she was dead 15 years ago. He attended the memorial service. He mourned her. He tried to move on with his life. But here she was, walking toward him as if she had simply been away on a long trip. Behind her was a younger figure, a girl maybe 14 or 15 years old. She had features that were both familiar and strange. Her skin was a soft tan color, somewhere between human and Kavesh. Her hair was black like his own, but it had a slight shimmer to it. Her eyes were violet, shaped like human eyes but with a brightness that was clearly alien. The girl was staring at him with intense curiosity. Velara stopped 3 meters away from him. Her expression was calm, but Taman could see the tension in her shoulders. She had always been good at hiding her emotions. "Taman," she said. Her voice was exactly as he remembered it, soft and musical. He could not speak. His throat felt tight. Velara glanced at the girl beside her, then back at him. "I know this must be a shock. I know what you were told. But I am alive, as you can see." "How?" The word came out as a whisper. "That is a long story," Velara said. "But first, there is something you need to know. Something I should have been able to tell you 15 years ago." She gently pushed the girl forward. The girl looked nervous but stood straight, trying to appear confident. "Taman, this is Ariel," Velara said. Her voice trembled slightly. "She is our daughter. I was pregnant when I left for that mission. I did not know it then. I found out only after I was captured." Taman felt the world spin around him. He stared at the girl, at Ariel. Now that he looked closely, he could see it. She had his nose. The shape of her face was like his mother's. But her eyes, her grace, those came from Velara. "My daughter," he repeated, testing the words. Ariel spoke for the first time. Her voice was young but steady. "Hello, I have wanted to meet you for a very long time." Taman did not know what to say. What do you say to a child you never knew existed? A child who was already almost grown? "You were captured?" he finally asked Velara. "They told me you died." "They lied," Velara said bitterly. "Or perhaps they simply assumed I was dead. I was taken to a black site prison, a secret facility. They kept me there because of what I knew and because..." She paused, looking at Ariel. "Because of what I carried." "For 15 years?" Taman felt anger rising in his chest. "You were prisoner for 15 years?" "Yes, and Ariel was born there. She grew up in that place." Velara's calm mask cracked slightly. "I am sorry, Taman. I tried to get word to you. I tried to escape many times, but they were very careful with us." Ariel reached out and touched her mother's arm, a gesture of comfort. Taman looked at his daughter again. She had grown up in a prison. She had never known freedom until now, apparently. Yet she stood there with dignity, with strength. "How did you escape?" he asked. "I will explain everything," Velara said. "But not here. Is there somewhere we can talk? Somewhere private?" Taman nodded slowly. His mind was racing, but he forced himself to think practically. "My apartment. It is small, but it is private." "Thank you," Velara said softly. As they walked through the spaceport, people stared. It was not common to see Kavesh on Earth anymore. Not since the Alliance had weakened. And a hybrid child was even rarer. Ariel noticed the stares and moved closer to her mother. Taman found himself feeling protective of this girl, this stranger who was his daughter. He positioned himself on her other side, blocking some of the stares. "It is okay," he said quietly to her. "They are just curious." Ariel looked up at him, surprised. Then she smiled slightly. "I'm curious too. About Earth, about humans, about you." They took the train to his apartment. It was a modest place in an old building, just 3 small rooms. Taman felt embarrassed by how empty it looked. There were no pictures on the walls, no personal touches. It was a place to sleep, nothing more. Velara looked around but said nothing. Ariel, however, seemed fascinated by everything. She touched the walls, examined the furniture, stared out the window at the city below. "It is so crowded," she said with wonder. "So many people." "You have never seen a human city before?" Taman asked. "Only in videos," Ariel replied. "Mother showed me recordings, taught me about human culture. But seeing it in person is very different." Taman made tea, his hands moving automatically through the familiar routine. It gave him something to do while his mind tried to process everything. When they all sat down, Velara began to explain. She told him about the mission that went wrong, about the betrayal, about the years in the dark cell with only Ariel to give her hope. She told him about the experiments they tried to run on Ariel, to study her hybrid genetics. She told him about the careful planning, the waiting for the right moment, and finally the escape 3 months ago. Taman listened to it all, his tea growing cold in his hands. Anger, grief, relief, and love all mixed together inside him until he thought he might break. When Velara finished, silence filled the small apartment. Finally, Ariel spoke. "I know this is strange for you. Mother told me about you every day. I feel like I know you. But you do not know me at all. That must be very hard." Taman looked at this wise, brave girl, his daughter. "We will learn," he said. "We have time now." Velara met his eyes. In that moment, despite all the years and pain between them, he saw the same understanding they had shared during the war. Everything had changed, but perhaps somehow they could build something new from the broken pieces of the past. Taman could not sleep that night. Velara and Ariel were resting in his bedroom while he lay on the couch in the living room. His mind kept wandering back to the past, to memories he had buried long ago. He remembered the first time he saw Velara. It was during the 3rd year of the war against the Devastator swarm. He had been assigned to a mixed unit, humans and Kavesh working together. The alliance was still new then, and many soldiers on both sides did not trust each other. Taman was a combat medic. His job was to save lives regardless of what species they belonged to. On his first day with the unit, there was an attack. 3 Kavesh soldiers were injured. The other human medics hesitated, unsure how to treat alien biology. Taman did not hesitate. He had studied Kavesh anatomy before the assignment. He worked quickly, stopping the bleeding, administering the right medications. The Kavesh soldiers survived. After that day, Velara sought him out. She was an intelligence officer, quiet and observant. She thanked him for saving her comrades. They began talking during the rare quiet moments between battles. Velara was fascinated by human resilience. "Your people are so fragile," she told him once. "Your bodies break easily, yet you keep fighting. Why?" "Because we must," Taman had answered simply. "Because if we do not fight, we lose everything. Humans learn to endure," she had smiled at that. It was the first time he made her smile. Their friendship grew into something deeper over the following months. They found themselves seeking each other out, sharing meals, talking late into the night. The cultural differences between them were vast, but somehow that made their connection feel more precious. When Taman finally confessed his feelings, he was terrified she would reject him. Relationships between humans and Kavesh were not forbidden, but they were rare and complicated. But Velara had touched his face gently with her long fingers. "I have been waiting for you to say something," she told him. "I was afraid you did not feel the same way." They married in 2 ceremonies. First, a simple human wedding with their unit as witnesses. Taman's hands had shaken as he placed the ring on her finger. Then, a Kavesh bonding ritual under the stars, where they spoke ancient words and shared their breath. For 3 months, they were happy. They talked about the future, about what they would do when the war ended. Valara wanted to see Earth's oceans. Taman wanted to visit the crystal gardens of her homeworld. Then came the orders. Valara was called for a classified intelligence mission. It was supposed to take 2 weeks. Taman remembered their last morning together. Valara had been quiet, which was unusual. "Something feels wrong," she had told him. "You are always careful," he had said, trying to reassure her. "You will come back to me." She had kissed him then, long and deep. "Promise me something. If anything happens to me, promise you will keep living. Find happiness. Do not stop your life for me." Nothing will happen, he had insisted, but something did happen. 2 weeks passed with no word. Then a month. Then an officer came to tell him that Valara's team had been lost. There were no bodies, but they were presumed dead. Taman had been destroyed. He requested a discharge from the military. When the war finally ended 2 years later, he was alone, working at the spaceport trying to forget. Now, lying on the couch in the darkness, Taman heard soft footsteps. He opened his eyes and saw Ariel standing in the hallway. She looked uncertain. "I could not sleep," she said quietly. "I am sorry if I disturbed you." "You did not disturb me," Taman said, sitting up. "I could not sleep either." Ariel came into the living room and sat in a chair across from him. In the dim light from the window, she looked very young. "Mother is sleeping," Ariel said. "She has not slept well in years. But tonight she seems peaceful. I think being here with you helps her." "I am glad," Taman said. He studied his daughter's face. "What was it like, growing up in that place?" Ariel was quiet for a moment. "It was all I knew for a long time. Our cell was small, but Mother made it feel bigger. She told me stories every night. Stories about Earth, about the Kavesh homeworld, about you. She taught me everything she could remember. Languages, history, science, music. She made sure my mind stayed strong even when our bodies were locked away. She was always strong," Taman said softly. "She cried sometimes," Ariel admitted, "when she thought I was asleep. She would whisper your name. I think losing you hurt her more than the prison did." Taman felt his throat tighten. "I thought she was dead." "If I had known." "She knows that," Ariel interrupted gently. "She does not blame you. She blames the people who took us. The people who lied." "Do you know who they were?" Taman asked. Ariel shook her head. "Not exactly. They wore no uniforms, no identification. They were very organized and very secretive. But Mother heard things over the years. She believes it was a group from both human and Kavesh governments. People who did not like the alliance. People who wanted to study hybrids like me." The word hybrid sounded clinical and cold. Taman hated it. "You are not a hybrid," he said firmly. "You are my daughter. You are a person." Ariel looked surprised, then her eyes grew bright with emotion. "Thank you," she whispered. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Ariel asked, "What was Mother like before the prison?" "I only know her as she is now." Taman smiled, remembering. She was curious about everything. She asked 1,000 questions. She loved to watch the rain, said it was peaceful. She was terrible at cooking human food, but insisted on trying. She laughed more easily then. "I wish I could have known her like that," Ariel said sadly. "Maybe she can be like that again," Taman suggested. "Now that you are both free, now that you are safe." "Are we safe?" Ariel asked. "Mother seems worried. She keeps watching the doors and windows." Taman had noticed that too. Valara had always been cautious, but now she seemed constantly alert, expecting danger. "I will not let anyone hurt you," Taman promised.
"Either of you?" Ariel smiled.
"You sound very certain." "I am," Taman said. "Humans are very protective of their families. It is one of our strongest traits. Now that I know you exist, nothing will take you away from me." "I believe you," Ariel said. She stood up and moved toward the hallway, then paused. "Taman, can I call you that? Or should I call you Father?" Taman felt a wave of emotion wash over him. "Call me whatever feels right to you. We have time to figure it out. Good night, Taman," Ariel said softly. "Good night, Ariel." After she left, Taman lay back down, but now his mind was not filled with painful memories. Instead, he thought about the future. He thought about getting to know his daughter, about helping Valara heal, about building the family they should have had 15 years ago. Outside the window, the city lights glowed in the darkness. Somewhere out there, the people who had taken his family were still free. Taman knew that Valara was right to be worried. This was not over. But for tonight, his family was together under one roof. For tonight, that was enough. As he finally drifted toward sleep, Taman made a silent promise. He had lost Velara once because he was powerless to help her. He had missed 14 years of his daughter's life. Those mistakes would not happen again. Whatever came next, they would face it together. That was what families did. And now, against all odds, he had a family again. The next morning, Taman called his supervisor and requested leave from work. He had not taken a vacation in 5 years. His supervisor was surprised but approved it immediately. Taman wanted to spend time with Ariel, to begin building the relationship they had missed. Velara encouraged this, though she seemed distracted and worried about something. "Are you sure it is safe for us to be out in the city?" Velara asked as Taman prepared to take Ariel outside. "We cannot hide forever," Taman replied. "Besides, Ariel should see Earth. She should experience normal life." Velara nodded reluctantly. "Be careful. Watch for anyone following you, and keep your phone on." Ariel was excited as they left the apartment. She had dressed in simple human clothes that Taman bought for her that morning. She looked almost like any other teenager except for her unusual eyes and the faint shimmer in her hair. "Where are we going?" Ariel asked eagerly. "First breakfast," Taman said. "There is a place nearby that makes the best noodles in New Seoul." The small restaurant was busy with morning customers. Ariel stared at everything with wide eyes. The sizzling cooking sounds, the chatter of voices, the smell of spices and broth. Taman ordered 2 bowls of beef noodle soup. When the food arrived, Ariel looked uncertain. "Mother showed me how to use chopsticks," she said, "but I have never actually tried it." "Here, I will show you," Taman said. He demonstrated the proper grip, then watched as Ariel tried it herself. She was clumsy at first, but determined. When she finally managed to get noodles to her mouth, her face lit up with delight. "It is delicious," she exclaimed. Taman smiled. It felt good to share something so simple with his daughter. As they ate, Ariel asked him questions. Many questions. She wanted to know about his childhood, about his work, about Earth's history and culture. Taman answered as best as he could, enjoying her curiosity. "You remind me of your mother," he told her. She always asked many questions, too. "I want to understand everything," Ariel said. "I spent so long with only mother's stories. Now I can see it all for myself." After breakfast, they walked through the city. Taman showed her the old palace district, where ancient buildings stood beside modern towers. He took her to a park where children played and people practiced Tai Chi. Ariel watched everything with fascination, but Taman noticed people watching her too. Some stares were curious, but others seemed hostile. He remembered that not everyone had accepted the Kavesh alliance. Some humans still harbored resentment from the war years. In the park, a group of young people their own age walked past. They whispered and pointed at Ariel. One of them said something cruel about alien creatures that Taman could not fully hear, but Ariel clearly did. Her face fell. She looked down at her hands, at her skin that was neither fully human nor fully Kavesh. Taman felt anger rise in his chest. But before he could say anything, Ariel spoke quietly. "They are afraid of me." Mother said people fear what they do not understand. "That does not make it right," Taman said firmly. He looked at his daughter with fierce pride. "You have nothing to be ashamed of. You are beautiful. You are strong. You are my daughter." Ariel's eyes grew bright. "Thank you," she whispered. They continued their walk, and Taman made sure to position himself between Ariel and any hostile stares. He realized that protecting his daughter would mean more than just keeping her physically safe. It would mean helping her navigate a world that was not always kind to those who were different. That evening, when they returned to the apartment, Velara was on the phone. She was speaking in rapid Kavesh. When she saw them, she quickly ended the call. "Who were you talking to?" Taman asked. Velara hesitated. "An old contact. Colonel Nari. She was my commanding officer during the war. She is still in military intelligence." "Why did you contact her?" Taman felt uneasy. "Because I need to know who held us prisoner," Velara said. Her voice was tight with tension. "I need to know if we are still in danger." "And?" Taman prompted. Velara looked at Ariel, then back at him. "Can we talk privately?" Taman nodded. They went into the small bedroom while Ariel stayed in the living room. Once the door was closed, Velara spoke in a low voice. "Nari confirmed my fears. The organization that held us is still active. They call themselves the Purity Directive. They operate in secret, with members in both human and Kavesh governments. What do they want? Taman asked, though he already suspected the answer. They oppose the mixing of species. They see hybrids as a threat to both human and Kavesh genetic integrity, Velara explained. They have been conducting experiments on hybrid children for years. Ariel was not the only one. But she is special. Special how? Her abilities are stronger than the others, Velara said. She has psionic sensitivity from my side, but also the adaptability and resilience from your side. The combination makes her very powerful. They wanted to study her, to understand how her genetics work. When we escaped, we destroyed much of their research data. They will want her back. Taman felt cold fear grip his heart. Then we need to leave Earth, go somewhere they cannot find us. Where? Velara asked. They have reach everywhere. The Kavesh homeworld, they have agents there too. Another colony? Same problem. Then what do? Taman demanded. Nari suggested we meet with her tomorrow, Velara said. She is gathering intelligence on the Purity Directive. She wants to help us. But more than that, she wants to stop them. If we work with her, maybe we can end this threat permanently. Taman was silent, thinking. Running would only delay the problem. These people would never stop hunting Ariel, unless they were stopped first. Okay, he said finally. We meet with Nari, but I want guarantees of safety for Ariel. Nari is trustworthy, Velara assured him. She saved my life during the war. She was devastated when she thought I was dead. That night, Taman could not stop thinking about the danger his daughter faced. He watched Ariel as she slept on the couch, looking peaceful and young. She had already survived so much. It was not fair that she had to keep fighting, but life was not fair. Taman had learned that lesson long ago. He thought about his promise to protect his family. He had been a medic during the war, trained to save lives, but he had also received combat training. He knew how to fight when necessary. If the Purity Directive wanted his daughter, they would have to go through him first. Velara came and stood beside him in the darkness. They watched Ariel sleep together, united in their fierce protectiveness. She is remarkable, Velara said softly. Despite everything she has been through, she still has hope. She still believes in goodness. She got that from you, Taman said. And from you, Velara replied. She told me what you said to her in the park. About being proud of her. It meant everything to her. I meant it, Taman said. She is our daughter. Nothing will change that. Velara reached out and took his hand. It was the first time they had touched since she returned. Her hand was cool and familiar in his. I am sorry, she whispered. Sorry for all the years we lost. Sorry for the pain you suffered. You have nothing to apologize for, Taman said. You survived. You protected our daughter. You did what you had to do. They stood together in silence, hand in hand, watching over their sleeping child. Tomorrow they would meet with Colonel Nari. Tomorrow they would begin the fight to keep Ariel safe. But tonight, they were simply a family. Broken and healing, but together at last. Colonel Nari met them at a secure government facility on the edge of the city. She was a stern woman in her 50s with short gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. When she saw Velara, her professional mask cracked briefly. I thought I would never see you again, Nari said, embracing Velara tightly. I thought the same, Velara replied. Nari turned to study Ariel with interest. So this is your daughter. She looks like both of you. This is Ariel, Velara introduced. And you remember Taman. The medic who could not be scared, Nari said, shaking Taman's hand. I remember. You saved many lives during the war. They moved to a private conference room. Nari spread out files and data screens on the table. The Purity Directive has been operating for almost 20 years, Nari explained. They started during the early days of the Human-Kavesh Alliance. Some extremists on both sides believed that mixing our species was wrong, dangerous. They formed this organization to prevent it. By kidnapping and experimenting on people, Taman said bitterly. Yes, Nari confirmed. They have been abducting hybrid children and their parents for years. Most never escape. Your family was very lucky, Velara. How many children? Velara asked. We think at least 40 over the years, Nari said grimly, but we cannot be sure. They are very good at covering their tracks. Ariel spoke up quietly. I heard them talking sometimes. About other subjects in other facilities. I was not the only one. Nari looked at her with sympathy. What else can you tell us about where you were held? Ariel closed her eyes, remembering. It was underground, very deep. The walls were gray metal. There were guards, but they rarely spoke. Scientists came to examine me regularly. They took blood, ran tests, made me perform tasks to measure my abilities. What kind of abilities? Nari asked. Ariel hesitated, looking at her mother. Filara nodded encouragingly. I can sense emotions, Ariel said. Not read minds, but feel what people are feeling. Fear, anger, joy, pain. I can sense it like pressure in the air. And my reflexes are faster than normal. I can move quickly when I need to. Show me, Nari requested. Ariel stood up. Nari pulled out a small device and activated it. Suddenly, a rubber ball shot across the room at high speed. Without seeming to think, Ariel's hand moved in a blur and caught it. Nari whistled softly. That would have hit the wall at over 60 kilometers per hour. You caught it like it was nothing. It is easier when I see the person's intention to throw, Ariel explained. I felt you prepare to press the button. Remarkable, Nari said. This is why they wanted to study you. Hybrid abilities like yours could be very valuable, for good purposes or bad ones. She is not a weapon, Taman said firmly. I know that, Nari assured him, but the Purity Directive does not see it that way. They see hybrids as either threats to be eliminated or tools to be used. What is our next step? Filara asked. We need more information, Nari said. We need to find their facilities, identify their leadership, gather evidence. Then we can move against them officially. That will take time, Taman said. How do we keep Ariel safe while you investigate? Stay alert. Stay together. Avoid patterns in your movements, Nari advised. I will assign protection, but be discreet about it. They spent another hour reviewing security protocols. When they finally left the facility, Taman felt slightly better. At least they had allies now. They were not facing this alone, but his relief was short-lived. The next day, Taman took Ariel to the market to buy fresh food. It was a crowded place full of vendors and shoppers. Taman thought they would be safe in such a public space. He was wrong. They were examining fruit at a stall when Ariel suddenly grabbed his arm. Something is wrong, she whispered urgently. I feel danger. Very close. Taman immediately went on alert. He scanned the crowd looking for threats. Then he saw them. 3 men moving through the crowd with purpose. Their eyes locked on Ariel. They wore ordinary clothes, but something about their movement was coordinated. Professional. Walk toward the exit, Taman told Ariel quietly. Stay close to me. They moved quickly but tried not to run. Running would cause panic. But the men followed, closing the distance. When they reached a narrow passage between stalls, one of the men made his move. He reached for Ariel. Taman reacted instantly, his old combat training taking over. He grabbed the man's wrist, twisted it sharply, and threw him off balance. The other 2 men rushed forward. One pulled out a stun weapon. Taman pushed Ariel behind him and faced the attackers. He had not fought in 15 years. But the skills were still there, buried in muscle memory. He dodged the stun weapon, kicked one attacker in the knee, and struck the other in the throat with precise force. People in the market started screaming and running. In the chaos, more attackers appeared. 5 total now, all converging on them. Ariel, run, Taman shouted. I will not leave you, she cried. One attacker got past Taman and grabbed Ariel's arm. She screamed and something happened. A wave of force seemed to pulse out from her body, throwing the attacker backward. He crashed into a stall unconscious. Ariel stared at her hands in shock. I did not know I could do that. The remaining attackers hesitated, surprised by this display of power. Taman used their hesitation. He grabbed Ariel's hand and ran. They sprinted through the market, knocking over crates and weaving between people. The attackers pursued, but Ariel's enhanced reflexes helped them dodge and turn with impossible speed. Taman could barely keep up with his own daughter. They burst out of the market and into the street. Taman saw a taxi and practically threw Ariel inside. Drive, now! He ordered the shocked driver. As the taxi pulled away, Taman looked back and saw the attackers standing at the market entrance, watching them escape. One of them was speaking into a communication device. They know where we live, Ariel said, breathing hard. They will come for us there. Taman pulled out his phone and called Velara. We were attacked. At least 5 people. Do not go back to the apartment. Meet us at the place Nari mentioned. The safe house. Velara's voice was tight with fear. Are you hurt? Is Ariel hurt? We are okay, Taman assured her. But this is serious. They are not trying to be subtle anymore. After he hung up, Ariel looked at him with new eyes. You fought like a soldier. Mother said you were a medic. Medics receive combat training too, Taman explained. We have to be able to protect our patients. And ourselves. You were protecting me, Ariel said softly. Of course, Taman replied. You are my daughter. I will always protect you. Ariel was quiet for a moment. Then she said, I pushed that man with my mind. I did not know I could do that. It scared me. Your abilities are part of who you are, Taman said. They are not bad or good. It depends on how you use them. Today you use them to protect yourself. That was the right choice. Mother always told me to hide my abilities, Ariel said. She said people would fear me if they knew. Maybe, Taman acknowledged. But hiding who you are is not living. We will find a way for you to be yourself and be safe. I promise. The taxi took them to the safe house, a nondescript apartment in a different district. Velara was already there, pacing anxiously. When she saw them, she rushed over and embraced Ariel tightly. Are you sure you are not hurt? She asked, checking Ariel over. I am fine, Mother, Ariel assured her. Taman protected me, and I discovered something new about my abilities. As Ariel explained what happened, Velara looked troubled. You use telekinetic force. That is a very advanced ability. Even among pure Kavesh, only a few can do it. Is it dangerous? Ariel asked. Only if you cannot control it, Velara said. We will need to help you learn control. Taman called Nari and reported the attack. She promised to increase security and send investigators to the market to gather evidence. That night in the safe house, Taman watched his family. Velara sat with Ariel, teaching her meditation techniques to help control her abilities. They looked peaceful together despite the danger surrounding them. Taman realized something important. For 15 years he had been only half alive, going through the motions of life without really living. But now, with his family back, he felt whole again. He felt purpose again. The Purity Directive wanted to take that away from him. They wanted to hurt his daughter, to use her like an object. Taman would not let that happen. Humans were known throughout the galaxy for their fierce protectiveness of their loved ones. It was one of the traits that made them formidable allies and dangerous enemies. These people had made a serious mistake. They had threatened his child. Now they would learn what happens when you threaten a human's family. Colonel Nari arrived at the safe house the next morning with news. Her face was grim. We identified 2 of your attackers from market security footage, she said, displaying images on her tablet. Both are former military. One human, one Kavesh. Both were dishonorably discharged for extremist activities. So the Purity Directive is recruiting criminals, Velara said. Worse, Nari replied. We tracked their movements after the attack. They led us to a facility on the outskirts of the city, a research center registered as a private medical laboratory. But our scans show heavy security, underground levels and shielded areas. It matches the description Ariel gave of her prison. Taman felt his pulse quicken. You think there are more children there? Possibly, Nari said. We need to investigate, but we cannot move officially without proof. The Purity Directive has members in high government positions. If we alert them, they will destroy evidence and move their operations. Then we investigate unofficially, Taman said. That is what I was thinking, Nari agreed. A small team. In and out quickly. Gather evidence, assess the situation. If there are prisoners, we extract them. I am coming, Velara said immediately. As am I, Taman added. I expected nothing less, Nari said. She looked at Ariel. You will stay here with my security team. This will be dangerous. No, Ariel said firmly. I can help. I can sense people's emotions, remember? I can tell you if someone is lying, if there is danger nearby. I can be useful. Absolutely not, Taman said. It is too dangerous. Everywhere is dangerous for me now, Ariel countered. At least if I come with you, I am with people who can protect me. And if there are other hybrid children there, they might trust me more than they trust adults. Taman looked at Velara. She seemed torn. She has a point, Velara admitted reluctantly. Her abilities could be valuable. And keeping her here, if the facility discovers we are investigating, they might send another team here. I promise I will stay back and stay safe, Ariel said. Please let me help. Taman wanted to refuse. Every instinct told him to keep his daughter far away from danger. But he also understood her need to do something, to not be a helpless victim. You stay with me at all times, he said finally. If I tell you to run, you run. Understood? Understood, Ariel agreed. They spent the day planning. Nari brought blueprints of the facility, stolen from city records. She also brought equipment, cameras, scanners, weapons. Taman accepted a stun pistol, hoping he would not need to use it. That night they moved. Nari had 5 trusted soldiers with her, all veterans who had served with her during the war. They approached the facility in unmarked vehicles, parking a kilometer away and approaching on foot. The research center looked ordinary from the outside. A modern building with clean lines and minimal lighting, but Nari's scans revealed armed guards and surveillance systems. The entrance is too exposed, Nari whispered. But there is a maintenance access on the east side. We go in there. They moved through the darkness like shadows. Taman kept Ariel close, one hand on her shoulder. She was tense but controlled. The maintenance entrance was secured with an electronic lock. One of Nari's soldiers, a tech specialist, quickly bypassed it. They slipped inside. The interior was sterile and cold. White walls, fluorescent lights, the smell of disinfectant. It reminded Taman of military medical facilities. Ariel suddenly grabbed his arm. People below us, she whispered. I feel fear, pain, children. Nari checked her scanner. Underground levels. 3 floors down. Heavy security on the 2nd level. They moved carefully through the corridors, avoiding patrols. When they reached a stairwell leading down, Ariel's grip on Taman's arm tightened. More guards ahead, she warned. 4 of them. They are alert. Nari signaled her team. They moved with practiced efficiency, stunning the guards before they could raise an alarm. Taman was impressed by their skill. The 2nd underground level was different. Here the walls were reinforced metal. Heavy doors lined the corridor. Through small windows in each door, Taman could see inside. Cells. Prison cells. His stomach turned. In each cell was a child or teenager. Some looked human, some looked Kavesh, but most looked like Ariel, caught between both species. How many? Valara asked, her voice shaking with rage. One of the soldiers counted. 12 cells on this level, all occupied. We need to get them out, Taman said. First we gather evidence, Nari said. She was already filming everything with a small camera. We need proof of what is happening here. They found an office filled with computers and files. While Nari's tech specialist downloaded data, Taman and Valara opened the cell doors, freeing the children. The children were frightened and confused. Some had clearly been there for years. Ariel spoke to them softly, calming them with her presence. It is okay, she told them. We are here to help. You are going to be free. One girl, who looked about 12, stared at Ariel with wide eyes. You escaped. I heard the guards talking about you. They were so angry that you got away. What is your name? Ariel asked gently. Hana, the girl replied. Well, Hana, now you are escaping too, Ariel said with a smile. Alarms suddenly blared throughout the facility. Red lights flashed. They know we are here, Nari said sharply. We need to leave now. But as they rushed toward the exit with the children, guards poured in from multiple directions. These were not ordinary security guards. They wore tactical gear and carried serious weapons. Get the children out, Nari ordered her team. We will hold them off. A firefight erupted. Nari's soldiers used stun weapons while the guards used live ammunition. Taman grabbed Ariel and several younger children, pulling them behind cover. Stay down, he shouted. Valara fought alongside Nari's team, her movements graceful and deadly. Taman remembered that she had been an elite intelligence officer during the war. She had not lost her skills, but they were outnumbered. More guards kept coming. Then something unexpected happened. The older hybrid children began to fight back. One boy made a guard's weapon overheat with his mind. A girl created an illusion that confused the guards. Hana generated a shield of energy that blocked incoming fire. Ariel looked at Taman. I can help too. Ariel, no, he started. But she was already moving. Ariel ran forward and unleashed a wave of telekinetic force, just like she had done in the market. But this time it was stronger, more controlled. A dozen guards were thrown backward, crashing into walls. The other children rallied around her. Together, their combined abilities created chaos among the guards. The tide of battle turned. Move, now, Nari shouted. They ran for the exit, the children staying together. Behind them, the facility's alarms continued to wail. As they burst out into the night air, Taman saw someone standing by the vehicles. A man in an expensive suit flanked by more guards. Stop right there, the man said calmly. He was older, with gray hair and cold eyes. I am Director Kyung-ho. You are trespassing on private property and kidnapping research subjects. Research subjects? Vilara snarled. They are children. You imprisoned them, experimented on them. We were studying them, Kyung-ho replied coolly, trying to understand the implications of genetic mixing. Hybrids represent a threat to both human and Kavesh species integrity. We were doing important work. You were torturing children, Taemin said, his voice deadly quiet. They are not just children, Kyung-ho argued. They are hybrids, anomalies. We needed to understand them, to control them before they became dangerous. Ariel stepped forward, her eyes blazing. We are not anomalies. We are people. We have thoughts, feelings, families. You had no right to do this to us. Kyung-ho looked at her with clinical interest. Ariel, Subject 17. Your abilities are quite remarkable. The strongest we have seen. If you would just cooperate. Never, Ariel said firmly. Nari raised her weapon. Director Kyung-ho, you are under arrest for crimes against humanity and violation of interspecies treaties. Kyung-ho smiled. You have no authority here, Colonel, and you have no proof that will stand up in court. My organization has connections at every level of government. Actually, we have plenty of proof, Nari said. She held up a data drive. Everything. Your files, your experiments, your prisoner records, all backed up to secure servers. By morning, this will be on every news network in the solar system. For the first time, Kyung-ho's confident expression cracked. You are making a mistake. The work we do is necessary. Hybrids are dangerous. The only dangerous people here are you and your organization, Taemin interrupted. You see children and see threats. We see children and see hope. That is the difference between us. Kyung-ho's guards moved to intercept them, but more vehicles arrived. Military vehicles. Nari had called for backup. Within minutes, Kyung-ho and his guards were in custody. The facility was secured. Medical teams arrived to care for the rescued children. Taemin held Ariel close as they watched the operation unfold. She was shaking slightly, the adrenaline wearing off. You were very brave, he told her. I was scared, she admitted. Bravery is not the absence of fear, Taemin said. It is acting despite fear. You saved lives tonight. Vilara joined them, exhausted but satisfied. It is over. We stopped them. But as Taemin looked at the facility, at the guards being arrested, he wondered, was it really over? Or was this just the beginning? The news of the rescue spread quickly. Within hours, every major network was broadcasting the story. Images of the imprisoned children, the evidence of experiments, the arrested Director Kyung-ho. Public outrage was immediate and fierce, but Taemin knew the danger was not over. 3 days after the rescue, Colonel Nari called an emergency meeting at a secure military base. When Taemin, Vilara, and Ariel arrived, they found Nari looking exhausted and worried. We have a problem, she said without preamble. Director Kyung-ho was just one part of the Purity Directive. The organization is much larger than we thought. They have cells on Earth, on the Kavesh homeworld, on colony stations. And they are angry. How angry? Vilara asked. Angry enough to launch a coordinated attack, Nari replied grimly. She displayed intelligence reports on screens. Our analysts have intercepted communications. The Purity Directive is planning a strike against this base. Against us. They want to recapture the hybrid children and eliminate everyone involved in exposing them. When? Taemin demanded. Possibly within the next 48 hours, Nari said. We are moving the children to a more secure location, but the Purity Directive has resources. They have weapons, trained soldiers, even some military hardware that was reported stolen over the years. So we prepare to defend this base, Vilara said. We are, Nari confirmed. But I will be honest with you. We are outnumbered. The Purity Directive can field hundreds of operatives. We have maybe 60 soldiers here, plus whatever local reinforcements arrive in time. Ariel spoke up. What about us? The hybrid children? Can we help? Absolutely not, Taemin said immediately. But we have abilities, Ariel argued. We showed that at the facility. Working together, we can defend ourselves. You are children, Taemin insisted. It is our job to protect you, not the other way around. I understand how you feel, Ariel said. But hiding will not keep us safe. The Purity Directive will never stop hunting us. Not until they are completely destroyed. If we fight now, if we show that we are not helpless, maybe we can end this for good. Taemin looked to Vilara for support, but she seemed conflicted. She may be right, Velara said reluctantly. I hate it, but she may be right. Over the next day, the base transformed into a fortress. Soldiers established defensive positions. Automated weapons were placed on the perimeter. Evacuation plans were prepared for the worst case. The hybrid children, despite the adults' protests, insisted on helping. The older ones, including Ariel and Hana, began training with the soldiers. Their abilities were unique and potentially powerful in combat. Ariel could sense enemy intentions and positions. Hana could create protective shields. The boy named Daehyun could manipulate metal with his mind. A quiet girl named Minji could become invisible for short periods. Taemin watched them train and felt his heart break. These children should be playing, studying, living normal lives. Instead, they were preparing for war, but he also felt pride. They were brave. They were strong. They reminded him of what made both humans and Kivesh great, their best qualities combined. The attack came on the second night. Alarms blared across the base. Sensors detected multiple vehicles approaching from all directions. Aircraft appeared on radar. Here they come, Nari announced over communications. Everyone to positions. Protect the children at all costs. Taemin was stationed with Ariel in the central command building. Through the windows, he could see explosions lighting up the darkness as the Purity Directive forces began their assault. The enemy came in waves. First, armored vehicles crashed through the perimeter fence. Soldiers poured out armed with heavy weapons. Nari's troops fought back fiercely, but the enemy kept coming. Then aircraft swooped in, firing missiles at defensive positions. The base's automated weapons shot back, filling the sky with tracer fire. There are too many, Velara said. She was with them in the command center, monitoring the battle. They must have committed most of their resources to this attack. An explosion rocked the building. Taemin grabbed Ariel to steady her. The east wall is breached, a soldier reported. Enemy forces entering the base. Fall back to secondary positions, Nari ordered. Start evacuating the younger children. But the evacuation routes were cut off. Enemy forces had surrounded the base. They were trapped. Ariel stood up, her face set with determination. We need to do something now. What can we do? Taemin asked helplessly. Use what makes us special, Ariel said. She activated the communication system. All hybrids, this is Ariel. Meet at the central courtyard. It is time. Ariel, what are you planning? Velara demanded. Trust me, Ariel said. Then she ran out of the command center. Taemin and Velara exchanged a look, then ran after her. In the courtyard, the hybrid children were gathering. All 12 of them who had been rescued, plus Ariel. 13 in total. They stood in a circle, holding hands. What are you doing? Taemin shouted over the noise of battle. Something the Purity Directive never imagined, Ariel replied. They studied us individually. But together, our abilities connect, amplify each other. Mother, you taught me about Kivesh psionic linking, remember? Velara's eyes widened. But that requires training, practice. We do not have time for practice, Ariel said. We just have to try. The children closed their eyes. Taemin felt something shift in the air, like the pressure before a storm. Energy began to flow between the children, visible as soft light. Their combined abilities synchronized, creating something greater than the sum of its parts. Ariel opened her eyes, and they glowed with power. Tell the soldiers to take cover. Nari, watching from the command center, gave the order. All friendly forces pulled back, taking defensive positions. The hybrid children raised their hands together. What happened next would be talked about for years to come. A wave of force expanded from their circle, rolling across the entire base. Enemy soldiers were thrown back, their weapons torn from their hands. Vehicles flipped over. Aircraft lost power and made emergency landings outside the base perimeter. But the children did not stop there. Hana's shields expanded to cover the entire base in a protective dome. Minji created illusions that confused the enemy forces, making them see threats that were not there. Daehyun pulled all enemy weapons toward a central point, disarming hundreds of attackers at once. Ariel coordinated it all, her enhanced senses allowing her to direct each child's abilities with precision. The Purity Directive forces fell into chaos. They had come prepared for military resistance. They had not prepared for this. Taemin watched in awe as his daughter and the other children turned the tide of battle without killing anyone. They disabled, disarmed, and scattered the enemy forces with nothing but their combined will. When it was over, when the last enemy forces had retreated or surrendered, The children collapsed from exhaustion. Soldiers rushed to catch them, to carry them to safety. Taman reached Ariel and held her as she struggled to catch her breath. "You did it," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "You saved everyone. We did it together," Ariel corrected weakly. That is what they never understood. They saw us as separate, as threats. But we are stronger together. Humans and Kavesh working together. That is what we are. The battle was over, but the night was not. Nari's forces captured dozens of Purity Directive operatives. More importantly, they captured the organization's leadership, who had been coordinating the attack from a command ship. As dawn broke over the base, Taman stood with his family, watching the sunrise. Around them, soldiers moved through the ruins of the battle, helping the wounded, securing prisoners. "It is really over now," Velara said. "The fighting, maybe," Taman replied. "But the work is just beginning." Ariel looked up at both of her parents. "What work?" "Building a better world," Taman said. "One where children like you do not have to fight. Where being different is not dangerous. Where humans and Kavesh can truly live together." Nari approached them, looking tired but satisfied. "The government is already drafting new laws. Protection for hybrids. Prosecution for genetic persecution. You started something important today." "The children started it," Taman corrected. "They showed everyone what is possible when we stop fearing difference and start embracing it." In the medical tent, the hybrid children were being treated for exhaustion. But they were smiling, talking excitedly about what they had done. For the first time in their lives, they had not been helpless victims. They had been heroes. Hana found Ariel and hugged her. "Thank you. For leading us. For showing us we could be strong." "We are all strong," Ariel said. "We just needed to believe it." As Taman watched the children bond, forming connections that would last a lifetime, he understood something profound. Humanity's strength had always been its ability to adapt, to include, to make family from strangers. The Kavesh had similar values, though expressed differently. These children represented the best of both species. Not a threat, but a promise of a future where old divisions no longer mattered. The Purity Directive had tried to stop that future. They had failed. Now nothing could stop it. 6 months had passed since the battle at the military base. Taman stood in the kitchen of their new apartment, a much larger place than his old one. He was cooking dinner, a mix of traditional Korean dishes and Kavesh cuisine that Velara had taught him to prepare. The smells filled the apartment with warmth. Through the window, he could see New Seoul at sunset, the city lights beginning to glow. So much had changed in half a year. The Purity Directive had been dismantled. Its leaders were on trial for crimes against sentient beings. The evidence collected from the facility, combined with testimony from the rescued children, had been overwhelming. Public opinion had turned decisively against the organization. More importantly, new laws had been passed. The Hybrid Protection Act made discrimination based on genetic heritage illegal across all human territories. Similar laws were being enacted on the Kavesh homeworld and other allied worlds. The rescued children had been placed with families, given therapy, and slowly reintegrated into society. Some had found biological relatives. Others, like Hana and Daehyun, had been adopted by families who wanted them. All of them stayed in touch with Ariel. They met regularly, supporting each other as they adjusted to normal life. "Father, can you help me with this?" Ariel called from the living room. Taman smiled at the word father. It had taken Ariel 3 months to feel comfortable using it. Now she said it naturally. He walked into the living room and found Ariel surrounded by books and data tablets. She was working on an assignment for her university classes. "What do you need?" he asked. "This essay about interspecies cultural integration," Ariel said. "I want to write about our family, about how we bridge 2 cultures, but I'm not sure how to explain it properly." Taman sat beside her. "What are you trying to say?" "That being part of 2 worlds is not about choosing one or the other," Ariel said thoughtfully. "It is about taking the best from both and creating something new, something that honors both heritages." "That sounds perfect," Taman said. "Write that." Ariel smiled and turned back to her work. She was thriving at university, her chosen field, of study was xenobiology and cultural integration, preparing for a career helping other hybrid children, and promoting understanding between species. She was also happy. That was what mattered most to Taman. The door opened and Velara entered carrying bags of groceries. She had been out shopping at the market, something she did regularly now. She loved experiencing ordinary human life after so many years of imprisonment. "I got those spices you wanted," she told Taman, "and I found fresh fruit from the Kavesh trade district. I thought we could have it for dessert." "Perfect," Taman said, taking the bags from her. In the kitchen, Velara helped him prepare the meal. They worked together comfortably, their movements synchronized from months of practice. They talked about small things, ordinary things, bills, weather, plans for the weekend. It was domestic and peaceful, and everything Taman had dreamed of during the lonely years. Their relationship had changed, of course. They were not the same people who had married during the war. Too much had happened, too much pain and time between them. But they had found a new understanding, a new connection built on shared love for their daughter and mutual respect. They had not remarried, not yet. They were taking things slowly, relearning each other, but Taman thought maybe someday, when they were both ready. "Dinner is ready," Taman announced. They gathered around the table together, the three of them. Ariel put away her schoolwork. They served the food, each taking portions of both human and Kavesh dishes. "This looks wonderful," Velara said. As they ate, they talked. Ariel told them about her day at university, about a presentation she had given that impressed her professors. Velara shared news from Colonel Nari, who had been promoted and was now overseeing interspecies military cooperation programs. Tamin listened and watched his family, feeling contentment settle over him like a warm blanket. After dinner, there was a knock at the door. Ariel jumped up to answer it. Hana and Daehyun stood outside smiling. Behind them were three other hybrid children from the rescue. "We hope we are not disturbing you," Hana said, "but we wanted to visit." "You are never a disturbance," Ariel said, hugging her friend. "Come in." The apartment suddenly filled with young voices and laughter. Taman and Velara made tea and brought out snacks while the children gathered in the living room, talking and joking like teenagers everywhere. "They are doing well," Velara observed quietly, standing beside Taman in the kitchen. "They are strong," Taman agreed. "All of them. They survived things that would have broken many adults. Now they are building new lives. Because people like you fought for them," Velara said. "Because you showed them they were worth fighting for." Taman shook his head. "They showed us. Ariel showed us. She refused to be a victim. She chose to be a hero instead." They watched the young people together. Daehyun was demonstrating his ability to make small metal objects float, making the others laugh. Hana was showing pictures on her tablet of her new family. Another girl was talking excitedly about her plans to become a doctor. These children had been called anomalies, threats, subjects. Now they were simply people, young people with dreams and futures. Later, after the visitors had left, Taman stood on the balcony looking out at the city. Ariel joined him, wrapping a blanket around her shoulders against the cool night air. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. "The future," Taman said. "Your future. What kind of world you will live in." "A better world than the one you grew up in," Ariel said confidently. "Because of people like you and Mother and Colonel Nari. You changed things." "We only started the change," Taman said. "Your generation will finish it. You and all the other hybrid children. You are the bridge between humans and Kavesh. The proof that we can be more together than we are apart." Ariel leaned against his shoulder. "That is a lot of pressure." Taman laughed. "You do not have to carry it alone. You have family, you have friends, you have a community of people who love you and support you." "I know," Ariel said softly. "I am very lucky." "We are the lucky ones," Taman corrected. "Your mother and I. We lost so many years, but we got you. We got this, a family, a home, peace." They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the city lights. Velara came out to join them, standing on Ariel's other side. The three of them stood together, a family united across species and time. I have been thinking, Valara said, about what Ariel said earlier, about taking the best from both cultures and creating something new. Yes? Taman prompted. We should have a ceremony, Valara suggested. Not a wedding exactly, but a family bonding ritual, something that combines human and Kavesh traditions, to officially recognize us as a family, all three of us together. Ariel's face lit up. I would like that. So would I, Taman agreed. Over the following weeks, they planned the ceremony. They invited friends and family. Colonel Nari would attend, as would the other rescued children. Even some of Taman's old comrades from the war years came. The ceremony took place in a garden, under the open sky. There were human elements, rings exchanged, words spoken, traditional music played. There were Kavesh elements, breath shared, energy linked, ancient blessings sung. But most importantly, there were new elements created just for them. Ariel spoke words she had written herself, about what family meant, about love that crossed boundaries, about hope for the future. When it was over, when they had been officially recognized as a family by both human and Kavesh law, there was a celebration. Food from both cultures, music blending both styles, people from both species mingling and laughing together. Taman watched it all with deep satisfaction. This was what the Purity Directive had feared. This mixing, this connection, this joy. They had seen it as a threat, but it was not a threat. It was a promise. A promise that the future did not have to repeat the mistakes of the past. That different. Peoples could live together, love together, build together. Late in the celebration, Taman found himself alone with Ariel for a moment. Thank you, she said suddenly. For what? Taman asked, surprised. For fighting for me, Ariel said. For protecting me. For accepting me exactly as I am. Some fathers might have been scared of a hybrid daughter, might have wished I was fully human. But you never made me feel like I was wrong or broken. Taman felt tears prick his eyes. You could never be wrong or broken. You are perfect, exactly as you are. You are my daughter. That is all that matters. Ariel hugged him tightly. I love you, Father. I love you too, Taman said. More than I can ever express. As the sun set on the celebration, as guests began to leave with promises to meet again soon, Taman stood with his family. Valara on one side, Ariel on the other. Complete. He thought about the journey that had brought them here, the war, the loss, the years of separation, the danger, the battle. It had been hard, painful, often terrifying, but it had been worth it, because in the end, humanity's greatest strength was not its technology or its military might. It was not even its famous stubbornness or adaptability. It was the capacity to love across boundaries of species, culture, and time, to call family those who were different, to fight not for sameness, but for belonging. The Kavesh had this strength too, expressed in their own way. Together, humans and Kavesh could build something remarkable,